Okay, so I thought one of the best places to start here, being that I've been doing this almost 33 years, is how I got here. And it started by learning what I didn't want to do. So one of the cool things about where I went to college, which was Clark University in Worcester, Massachusetts, not the best part of New England, but good enough. It allowed us to go outside of the school to get class credit. So being that I was a finance major, we had the opportunity to work at different brokerage houses and so forth. So I ended up getting a spot at a firm that you might remember, depending on how old you are, called didnt. It was a typical brokerage house, stocks and bonds, old school stuff. So I got a job there in college. So I literally wore a suit on Tuesdays and Thursdays because I spent most of my days, I do the morning in other classes, and then I have to be at the brokerage house at 12 o'clock. So I had a couple of friends we did this with, and basically we would help the brokers get people interested in certain stocks. And we would do not the soliciting, but we would ask people if they wanted information about this, that, and the other thing. And somebody says yes, we give it to the broker. And then we'd watch the broker try to sell the stock. So 2 or 3 years of that, I learned I did not want to be a stockbroker. It was basically shoehorning products into somebody's financial life, whether they needed it or not. Their job was to sell stuff. So I didn't really like that. My uncle was a life insurance agent, really successful, out in Long Island. He ran an equitable agency, and he's like, I'll hire you, but I'm not going to train you so well. So, here's a company that'll really train you. It happened to be the company that I'm still at today. Because what I was looking for is something more strategic, something where you had to solve problems or look for opportunities, collaborate. And it was called financial planning. It wasn't called brokerage or, stocks. It was financial planning. It was looking at someone's total picture, seeing what they needed, see where the holes were, where were the risks, and then coming up with solutions. Financial planning was in its really early stages back in the 80s, but it certainly developed into a major profession. But that's how I got to know what I didn't want to do, and I found my passion right away in financial planning at Ameriprise, which was probably 2 names ago, but that's where we are. Our mission here at Pell Wealth Partners, to provide financial wisdom and guide our clients through life's complicated decisions as advocates and partners for sustainable prosperity, multi-generational wealth, and peace of mind. It's our mission that these decisions do not need to be made alone. And a good example of that is, when someone becomes suddenly single, divorce, death, something like that, all of a sudden they have a bunch of decisions to make. And nobody wants to make those alone. They're very important decisions. We have couples that are both corporate executives. They work in 12 hours a day. They come home, they got their kids. Do they really want to make important financial decisions at 8 o'clock at night after being stressed out from work? No. We're there for them to help make those decisions. They're smart enough to make them, but are they in the best mental shape to make them? Sometimes no. So they lean on us for that stuff. There's a lot of big decisions that get made many times in your life where you just need someone to lean on to do that. And that's what financial advisors do. When you're first working with a financial advisor, you're going to want to hear certain questions if you're doing true financial planning. And these are some of the questions that we would typically ask because it's important to get on the same wavelength with somebody. Because again, we're not selling a stock or a bond. It's more about trying to find out where they want to go. how they want to get there. And it's important to understand someone's relationship with money. And that starts when you're growing up. You know, how did you grow up? What was your financial upbringing like? Were you challenged in a sense that mom and dad both had to work 2 jobs? Or, you know, did you have it pretty nice and you're trying to keep that going? You know, what does money mean to you? So we try to dig down into that. We want to know what people do for a living and how they do it. Did they create their business all, you know, from scratch? Or did they go to school for, you know, 6 years and get $200,000 in debt? And, you know, now they're on the corporate rat race. What's some of the best and worst financial decisions they made? What was the outcome? What did they learn from it? I don't need to get into all these different questions, but you got the idea. It's really learning about what's really makes somebody tick financially and how they think, how they operate. Because if we don't get on that same wavelength, we're not going to get them anywhere. There's going to be a lot of this along the way, and we have to be on the same page. When you're building a financial plan, you want to figure out what truly are needs versus wants versus wishes. And we take people through exercises to figure that out. And we don't judge because people have different agendas and they're brought up differently. And for some people, having a second home is a need, not a want. And for other people, that would be a wish, right? So it's all about trying to understand where somebody is and dig deep with questioning to figure out what it is they truly want and what they're trying to accomplish, so we know as the advisor how to best use what they have to get them there. When somebody becomes a client with us, then it's understanding, okay, what's next? I just hired you. So we give them a full roadmap of what the first year at Pell Wealth Partners looks like, from the initial conversation to the data reviews, to the solution presentations, to the check-ins. It's really important to us to lay out what to expect, because again, these people are divulging probably more information to us than they have to anybody else. Because in order for us to do our jobs, that's what we need to hear. You know, we're looking under the hood of their tax return, all their investment statements. If we're doing insurance with them, we have all their medical records. And then they're telling us, you know, their deepest, darkest wishes of what they're trying to do, where they want their money to go when they die. So it's a lot of stuff, right? So the more we can show them what is going to happen in this relationship and how we work, I found over the years, the better it gets, and the more calm people are, the more relaxed they are. Here's a simple graphic of what it's like to prepare for retirement, or how we help them do that. Because retirement's something pretty much everybody gets to at some point. And you don't have to call it retirement. You can call it the point where work is optional. Financial independence, however you want to call it, that's what we call it. But we found that there's some key things in everybody's approach to get there. And the first foundation is covering the essentials. So your basic lifestyle, we need to understand what that is, or what that will be in retirement, and how much it costs, and just make sure we have that lined up. And then on top of that, on top of the basics is, okay, how do you want to live? You know, will there be a second home? Will it be travel? Do you have philanthropic endeavors that will cost money? Do you have family that you want to travel with, places to go? We add that expense on top. In the orange section, that's where we talk about the things nobody likes to talk about. You know, what if there's a death? What if there's an illness or injury or situation where somebody loses some capacity, may need a nursing home, may need care in the home? How do we handle that? What's the cost of that? Do we have the ability to do that? Do we need to help ensure that? We have those conversations. And then how do you want to leave this world? Some people we have to talk to about spending money, because when it comes to leaving a legacy, some people are all for it. And some people we have to share the information that, what, if you don't fly first class, your kids will. So what do you want to do? Because you can't take it with you. Sometimes it's time to start spending money. But leaving a legacy is very important to a lot of people. And whether it's philanthropic, whether it's kids, grandkids, we really try to spell that out and give them thoughts and ideas and try to understand where they want to go with that. So from there, we want to, for that retirement experience, we want to understand, what do you want to do here? New home, active lifestyle, quiet lifestyle, start a business. It's funny, we have some executives, high-powered executives, directors, what they want to do in retirement? Work in Home Depot, work in the Barclays Center or Madison Square Garden as an usher, because it gives them, enjoyment to be around people. It gives them something to do, and, get to see a bunch of concerts, or get to, if they're handy with their, home building and woodworking, they like to work at Home Depot and help other people do that kind of stuff. So it's very interesting that, not everybody wants to retire to the rocking chair. Some people like to retire and get a small part-time job that's productive and helps other people, or work for a philanthropic type company, a 501c3. But we got to get it out there, get it in the plan, and understand what they want to do. Then we talk about, okay, what keeps you up at night? What are some of the things that really concern you sometimes? And you'll be surprised, no matter how much money people have, some are worried about running out of it. Because one of the first questions we ask, and you've heard me say this on V5O sometimes, do you know that you won't run out of money before you run out of life? It's a question we ask everybody, and most people don't factually know the answer to that because they haven't run the numbers. And when we can show the numbers and prove it to them, sometimes they still don't believe us. So it's a funny profession in that sense. Other people, are worried about, dying too early and not spending enough money or having enough fun in their lives because they work so hard. I've seen too much time together. Some people get concerned about that. Like, I've been working my career, she's been working her career, and all of a sudden we're retired and we're together 12 hours a day now. Sometimes that can be challenging, and sometimes that concerns people. And it's like, all right, maybe we need part-time jobs. So trust me, I hear a lot of stories, and I could write a book for sure. So when we get all this information, then it's time to start crunching numbers. And one thing that old financial planning and how that's changed from new financial planning is computers. It gives us the power to do a lot of cool stuff. So if you just look at a situation where somebody has X amount of money and you assume it grows at 5% a year for the rest of their lives, which is what old financial planning used to do. That's not going to happen because you'll never get the same return exactly each and every year, right? What happens is each year you get something different. So we have computers now that really calculate very fast 1,000 different scenarios of what could happen to your money in a specific time frame. And it won't tell you whether you're good or bad, it'll tell you what the probability of you outlasting your money would be. And it could be anywhere from 0 to 100%. We like 85% or better. That's what we strive for in helping clients get to. And, funny stories, I had a client that wanted to retire early, and we got it to 85%, retiring at 55. But I said, but you have to die at 70. I can get you what you want, but there's a downside to that. So she understood and knew we had to either save more or retire a little later. And that's what we get into. And even if someone has really good numbers like this at 96%, my job is to stress test it and say, okay, you know, what other things might go wrong? If we don't get 6% a year, you know, what if we got 4? All right, so it's not 96, it's 87%. Or, you know, what if we spent more money? What does that look like? So we run multiple scenarios for people to really get them to the point where they understand what they can do, what's a bit of a reach, and get them excited about, you know, implementing what they have to do, which is maybe a certain portfolio, a certain savings plan, changing around their 401k. But a lot of it, and you know, in the beginning of the years, is about how much you save, not how much you make. I'm sure you've all heard that before. So then once it's all built and we have a plan, it's time to implement the plan. And a lot of those times it's about investments and how you need to structure your investment portfolios. How am I doing for time, by the way?
You are at 17 minutes.
So I'm late. Okay, so let me 2 minutes more here. So we fund this plan through algorithms and different strategies. So how much money should be in stocks versus bonds? What type of stocks, whether we use mutual funds, ETFs, individual securities, and we put a plan together based upon that. And most of the work we do is around math and algorithms. We don't do a lot of old school investment management anymore. We use computers to help us, again, with our experience, to figure out what strategies we need. I won't get into this stuff, but basically it tells us where we should be as far as how much money should be in equities at any one time in this particular strategy, and how we use volatility and economics to make really good decisions for clients on a monthly basis. We basically trigger our algorithms on the 1st and 15th of every month, which helps us make decisions there. This is an example of how we pick the individual securities to fund our strategies. So we have eight points that we use to figure out what's the right mutual fund or the right ETF to fit into our strategies. And then you've heard me say this before in V5O, one of the specialties we do is implement our strategies through a environmental, social, and governance lens. These are companies that have really good energy management, good environmental impact on the climate. They have employee diversity, good board ethics and structure, good accounting policies, employee health and safety records, gender equality. And an example of that is here, you know, things that Amazon has done around sustainability with their bonds and getting into renewable energy. Apple committing to $430 billion in US investments over the next 5 years, Chipotle raising their hourly wage for workers, Colgate, new tech in its toothpaste bottles that reduces waste, goes on and on. Here's a picture of our home. This is right near where Alan lives as well. Keys to our success as a company and how we've done so well for so long, the leadership, the culture. And we got a lot of advisors here with some great recognition. My colleagues, Zai Esbenshade, Jerry Pell, Doug Messina, puts us on a lot of these magazines and TV shows that gets us a lot of recognition. So proud to be with them as well. And that's my story.